Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. All right. Hello and welcome everyone to today's session. Good morning and Prabhat to our very distinguished and the participants joy today. Safe and at peace while working at and from home. I, Kasisai Kyaun, Royal Global University, Guwahati, take the privilege to moderate today's session of webinar series on Gandhian philosophy, organized to commemorate 2 years of 158th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi, with a deliberation on religion as a homespun shawl, need for re-receiving Gandhian healing touch in times of COVID-19 crisis by Professor Archana Borua of Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at IIT Guwahati. With this, I request Professor Dr. Anuradha Devi, ma'am, Dean, Royal School of Applied and Pure Sciences, Royal Global University, to give us the welcome address. Ma'am, the
Okay,
mic
thank you,
and
Christy.
yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Christy. And on behalf of Royal Global University, I welcome all the participants to this webinar. We are doing this to commemorate 150th birth anniversary of one of the legendary figure in our Indian history, Mahatma Gandhi. I speak about Gandhiji, I always get goosebumps when I read something because he's like everyone's idol, and I think he's more than idol to me. So personal level, I think whenever I read something, I first of all I like to say give my regards and give my respect to him, this legendary figure of India. Now today's webinar is the some different aspects of the Gandhi's thought on religion, and it is given the topic is given as religion, a homespun soul need to re-receiving Gandhian healing touch in the time of COVID-19. As we are facing this difficult time of COVID-19, how we can how Gandhi's philosophy or Gandhi's thought about religion can help all the people around us, all the people around the globe. This is the theme of today's webinar. Now, I am not an expert in religion, but things which I have read in my life about Gandhiji and his thought. Gandhiji's religion. This is actually although he's a Hindu, he has preached for the not for any religion, but he's preached for the humanity as religion. In his words, he has written that religion for Gandhiji is something which should come from within, and his for him, truth and non-violence is the only best religion one can possess. And Gandhiji's in one own word, his all religion converges to only one goal, and the goal is for humanity. And at the time of pandemic like this, COVID-19, what more one can think about rather than humanity, above all religion. Okay? So I think today's theme also think about as the theme says, it is the homespun soul. This is actually a book written by J.T.M. Jordan, and in that book he has talked about Gandhi's philosophy, Gandhi's thought process, what is his thought about the religion, Gandhi's thought on the thought and belief on the religion. So I think, as mentioned, the homespun soul and gives comfort to every human being. Religion should be such that it should be comforting and not as it should give comforts and not conflict, like the warmth and comfort given by a homespun soul. So with this, on behalf of Royal Global University, I welcome the today's eminent speaker, Professor Chana Borua, from Department of Philosophy, IIT Guwahati. I'm sure we are all eagerly waiting to listen to you, ma'am. And I'm sure all the participants who have been listening, because they will all revisit Gandhian philosophy. And I'm sure at today's time, not only today's time, I think it was and it is and it will be, relevant all the time. But we have to see in our own perspectives. We have to see our own perspective in a positive way. I'm sure we'll have a lot of learning, a lot of new things to learn. And once again, I welcome all of you. I welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, also. And he has been one person who has been motivating us to organize this kind of webinar all the time. Thank you, sir. Again, I like to welcome our thank Professor Lokumar Buragohai also, academic chairperson who has been instrument in doing the academic development of the Royal Global University. Once again, I welcome all of you to this webinar, and I now hand over my mic to Christy Sarkia. So, Christy, you can take over.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for for today's webinar. With this, I also request our professor, our VC sir, Honorable VC sir, Professor Dr. S.P. Singh sir, to set the right spirit for the webinar today, as you always do, sir. So please also give me a minute to introduce you here. So Professor Dr. Professor Dr. S.P. Singh has been associated with the Royal Global from its inception in 2009 as the founder director of the institution. He further moved to Amity Education Group in 2013 and joined as the senior vice president academic of the group and was responsible for functioning of 6 Amity campuses situated in different parts of the country and abroad. He also served as the founder vice chancellor of Amity University Chhattisgarh for almost 2 years before joining the Assam Royal Global University in November 2016 as the founder vice chancellor. With more than 3 decades of rich experience in teaching, research, academic institutions of repute across the nation, Roy is advised to have the Association of Professor Singh in his journey so far. While serving his second tenure as Vice Chancellor of Royal Global University, Professor Singh has completed almost 20 years of headship of well-known academic institutions of the country. So it is our pleasure and also our honor to have you with us again and always be with us in whatever the situation it is. You always push us for to have a very wonderful webinar like this, sir. So I request you to just give us a small introductory remarks.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you so much. Just a minute. There's some echo is going on outside.
Actually, the most probably the internet connection from your end, it's not really stable. Seems.
No, my end it is perfectly stable, and I can see Archana ji. Bahar आवाज आ रही है. बंद करो. No, it's perfectly stable. I can see Archana ji very well. In fact, your voice is cracking at times. And Anuradha madam was also very, very, very clear about his deliberation. So anyways, so let us start. Christy, you have to check your connectivity. My connectivity is perfect.
I'll do that.
Yeah. So, respected Dr. Professor Archana Barua madam, welcome to the virtual platform webinar being organized by Royal Global University. We are so very honored and feeling blessed today in your presence. And Dr. Anuradha Devi, Professor Alak Boragahai, other professors of Royal Global University, professors or teachers from Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, and other participants. A very good morning to all of you. I think the topic, I tried my level best to take few minutes to understand the topic. And I really have done little research on that. That may be right or wrong, that Archana ji can very well tell later on. But maybe that may be a philosophy which actually is embedded in the book which Anuradha ma'am was discussing about. I have not read that book. But at the same time, whatever little bit I have read about Mahatma Gandhi ji during my earlier days, young days, when we were preparing for civil services, and we used to have one topic called Thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru, and Tagore. So we used to read, and we used to read for years, and we used to read in depth. So that little bit insight is there. But for me, whatever I have read about Gandhiji and religion, and especially the topic with respect to home-spun shawl, need of the receiving Gandhian healing touch in time of COVID. I think religion for Gandhiji was Satya and Ahimsa. They're the only religion Gandhiji followed. I never believed in the concept that Gandhiji ever believed in the religion of Hinduism or Jainism or Buddhism or maybe Christianity or maybe Muslim. No, he never. He said many a times when he was talking about his philosophy of Ram Rajya, he said Ram Rajya also means Khuda ka ghar, is also means place of God. It is written in their books and their writings in Young India and Harijan. So those, if somebody have read the Young India and Harijan, will know very well what Gandhiji has wrote about his concept of religion. But I think end of the day, he has very clearly written, and he is very, very clear about his thought that religion any religion, whatever we have, we follow on this earth, has basis on satya and prem. And prem he has used with ahimsa. So satya, prem, and ahimsa in inverted commas was the main philosophy. Prem he has converted. We were talking from so many days about peace. We talked peace about peace in the nation, and the word can happen only with love and mohabbat and rasuk. At the same time, we also say if there is a non-violence, then non-violence can also be inculcated with the help of love for each other. And this topic, which actually is a topic because the ultimate objective of religion, what Gandhiji has said and what I also understood in my life so far, the ultimate objective of religion is to bring people together, bring more love and affection across all religion. As Gandhiji has written, and I quote on behalf, today's webinar, I quote, religion are different roads converging upon the same point. Religions are different roads converging upon the same point. What does it mean or matter that we take different roads as long as we reach to the same goal? So if we reach to the same goal at the same point by any religion, it doesn't matter. And Gandhiji has talked about that long time, and he was, in fact, he has given his life for the sake of saving the religion. And Ramaraj, he talked about, he wanted to have equality among all people. And this topic, spinning the shawl, is what I'm talking about, friendship. If religion can bring friendship among people, that we are doing in education sector, in the education fraternity, Archana ji may be doing at IIT Guwahati, because unless and until the whole community together, all Indians, all nationalists come together and they are spun, now the word has come. If all religions are spun together, if religion give us a thought that by spinning all the religion, and we are going to make a shawl, which shawl also doesn't look nice if it is having a single color. The color of the shawl should be multicolor, and the multicolor shawl with right kind of threads at the right place at the right time, and also being designed properly and crafted properly, will look a beautiful shawl. So the beautiful shawl of religion, that includes Hinduism, Sikhism, and all Isais, Muslim, everybody has been included, and that shawl looks beautiful. So that was my understanding about little research, half an hour I devoted for today's webinar in the morning, that unless and until we have this shawl spun by different religion and having the same goal, the goal of the shawl is to wear it and look beautiful and save yourself from atrocities of the world, or maybe very, very cold season, or maybe from the winds. So if the religion together being spun in the form of a shawl, and they can save you, and they can save you and humanity and save the world by having its umbrella or maybe its cover on it, and I think that I've understood about today's topic. And I think I may be right, I may be wrong, but Archana ji, this was my understanding, and this was my understanding from heart. It is not what I understood, because I have not found anything and I have not read that book, but this was my understanding. And I believe Gandhiji was very, very fond of, when he said Ram Rajya, he was he was quoting all the time Rahim ji. And when he said Vaishnav Janto Tene Kahiye Jo Peer Parai Jane Re, in that also Vaishnav Jan means all those people who are non-violent, who are good. There was no religion in Vaishnav Jan, like Hindu or Muslim or Sikh or Isai, and there was no religion in Ram Rajya also. People misnomer it, quote it wrongly as per their benefit at times, that we know very well. We all are academicians, we have no fear from anyone. But then at the same time, it is our responsibility and understanding to tell people what Gandhiji means by religion. 150 years are passed, and this is completing another few days. We are going to complete 151 years. So Gandhiji, as Anuradha Madam has said, we cannot think anyone beyond Gandhiji with respect to all these aspects. He's more than a role model, as she has said. There's no doubt, we cannot even think of. He is philosophy, his way of life, everything was mesmerizing to all of us. And his religion of, one more religion I every day talk about, his approach for minimalistic ways, the way he has lived his life with meager resources and little to exploit the environment, little to use for himself, but to give more to the people. That is also one of the religion. If you bring in Gandhiji's religion, I will bring in peace, harmony, dharma, and also about satya, ahimsa, and minimalistic approach. So these 5-6 points, I would say, was the religion of Gandhi. And if we spun all these together, all religion are based upon these 5-6 concepts. and that way we can spin a very good shawl that will save our humanity and the world. So this was my initial little bit remark. I
Yeah,
may be
yeah,
excused if I have
yeah.
not
Thank
touched upon the points. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to speak on this occasion.
thank you. Yeah.
Christy, you have to unmute yourself.
I'm so Thank you, sir, for your important insights. With this, we head towards our guest speaker's deliberation. It is our honor to have with us today Professor Archana Borwar, who is a professor in philosophy in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at the Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. Her field of interest is 20th century European philosophy, especially phenomenology and its development in Heidegger, existentialism, the hermeneutics of Paul Ricoeur-Levinas, and Gadamer, and the philosophy of phenomenology of religion. Professor Borwa is a regular contributor with selected areas of Indian philosophy and Gandhian philosophy, as well as religion and culture specifically related to the Vaishnavism, general and medieval Bhakta saints of Assam, Mahapurusha Shankardeva in particular. As a literary person in her own right, Archana Borua is a published Indian poet. Ma'am, it is our honor to have you with us today. May I request you to go ahead with your deliberation, ma'am?
Thank you. I think I am audible. Yes. A very
Yes, ma'am, you are.
good morning and good day to all of you. I am greatly honored by the kind invitation extended to me by the Royal Global University, and we have just heard your um, organizers introducing the theme and the webinars, and your very dynamic Vice Chancellor also. I could see the passion with which he could explore some part of the Gandhian theme. It is really fascinating and exciting to find people really interested in this academic line also, and genuinely and truly. And I thank all of you from the institute side for organizing this wonderful seminar for 3 days, and particularly I think Department of English. And also I am thankful to my one-time colleague and my friend Krishna Barua. We work together, even now we share together. So to all of you, and with this brief introduction, I begin today my topic, which is Gandhi's religion at the time of crisis time of today's pandemic. And as we all have our uh, idea of Gandhi's religion, and therefore particularly today's crisis situation, let us explore from Gandhian lens. And we all know that nature is sending us a message with coronavirus pandemic and the ongoing climatic crisis. It's not according to Gandhi. Usually he says that if you overdo your need with your greed, then definitely every action has strong opposite reaction, and therefore there will be nature's limited resources will be exhausted, overpopulation and others. And that is how he would have asked us to be restrained in our means, and how much we can spend, how much we can take. But this is coming because of the UN summit, that yes, it seems nature is taking revenge. And then the expense part, although scientifically they will not remain hopelessly fatalist, they will say, of course, there will be a way out. It is a problem, and scientists are already working on it in the laboratories, and there will be way out. Definitely there will be a way out, because with modern medicine, with problem to counter solution to the problem, we will have endless ways of how to address our own some of the overdoing problems that we have to correct. Now the situation is like correcting it, and then for the correcting, this much of expenditure per year, the scientists say. And even now we know how it has affected the different lifestyles. You see, the richer or the high privileged ones, and some in the remote villages and other places, all are affected by this disease, and how to meet the expenditures and other part that is also definitely a part of serious concern. And here Gandhi would have said, he has his own natural nursing care, medical care. Without fear, who would have personally nursed. He would have proven Gandhi's emphasis on healthy lifestyle, empowerment for self-care and care in the community would make perfect sense in today's time. And also, dramatic scenario of pandemic, the relevance of Gandhi's action to extricate ourselves from the mesmerization of modernity. He doesn't say we have to go back to bullock cart time, but he says that we have not to think that we have not to be so over dependent on modern medicine and scientific solutions that we will ultimately become handicapped. Suppose your availability of the market of the medicines and other things, it doesn't reach you in the remote corner. He says, therefore, we should not blindly depend on one kind of scientific solution to it. We have a number of alternate solutions. We have our nature therapy. We have from generation to generation, our parents and grandparents, they know what will be like. Even turmeric and haldi, immediately for painkiller, for some bleeding. You see, you have those homemade remedies. And Gandhi says you don't have to discontinue that. You keep a habit of keeping aware, being aware of your next generation also, that these are immediate, easily available from the garden. Some particular leaf, it has a medicine value, so you don't forget that keep you keep in your mind. And also along with, because although he was always against too much of experimentation on human body, but when he was in his late phase, I think Gandhi had an operation of his kidney by one Dr. Dalal. First, Gandhi was reluctant, but then when Dalal was operating it so smoothly, so perfectly fine, Gandhi was relieved of that kidney problem, and he never had that. So he was full of praise for this young doctor. And he says, I will suggest anyone to go to, if they have kidney problem, they should go to Dalal. Dalal is the best doctor, he says. So then he says, I am not against science and technology and modern science. Only thing is its direction. It should be for human welfare. It should be for healing. It should not be for, he will like, if possible, science should cleanse your polluted drinking water in the village, instead of going for war weapons, more of war weapons, or more of video games, which will be exciting to a particular age group, adventurous young minds that we market and want to sell. And those type of developments, definitely he will not like. So Gandhi's suggestions, Gandhi's way we can follow. Definitely there are many, because medicine alone or science alone cannot be of help. So then when Gandhi also says that we have now gradually we are entering into the field of religion, Gandhi's religion. And first is, as he says, my religion is based on truth and non-violence. Truth is my God. So Satya and Ahimsa, this is not new, very old in the tradition of Bharatiya Sanskriti. And also because of multicultural mosaic of which Jainism live and let others live, with Buddhism the middle part, with the Vedic Upanishadic Kasmoi Devaya Havisha Vidhema. But even then, that Deva should be someone who can not only mechanically multiply, and because our needs will be multiplied, our gods will be multiplied, but then also there are dimension even in the Vedic hymns when there will be unconditional love and devotion pouring for the fire god Agni, or even for beauty of Ushas or dawn, which will fascinate the Vedic seer. For some time, they will forget the practical necessities, the constraints that you have to fight the good with the evil, your opposite, your opponents, and all this they will try to forget for some time. And they will be fascinated with the sun coming with golden chariot with 7 horses. So this tradition of poetry with philosophy continued. And Gandhi, when he says Satta, therefore it will be the human dimension of truth. And so naturally, one side of truth, the other side will be non-violence. That we'll see later. But how he had the first taste of that Satta empowers, Satta has the power to take away the disintegration of a thought. As a young child, we all know his autobiography, how he confessed. Because as a young child, we can all visualize Gandhi. A lean and thin, he was not very stout, very strong, a short and fragile-looking Gandhi. And in the school, there were others who were, no, usually in schools we have some group of hatta katta gunda kind of radical one, daredevil kind of group whom we see they always dominate the scene, they take the leadership, and sometimes in our own deeper somewhere young minds may feel if I could be like him because he is the boss in the class. So Gandhi had that silent attraction to one such group, and this group, how they asked him to how to improve his health, and he said, you are vegetarian, so you have to taste meat and all. We all know that story, how he stole money from his, and because he wanted to compete to become like them. And then ultimately when his father was in his deathbed, and Gandhi confessed his sin wrongs to his father, and the saving grace of Satta, an act of speaking the truth. When Gandhi, first it was the fear of how to tell his father. He will be so shocked and he will be so hurt. But when he saw his father, tears coming, and he forgave him, and Gandhi got that guilt from him went away, and he felt so relieved and like as if reborn, and that was the power of Satta. And it reminds, because for wisdom traditions in Indian philosophy, it is not just knowledge, abstract, impersonal knowledge. If you have knowledge, you are wise. You are supposed to be wise. And then if you are supposed to be wise, then knowing is being. There will be transformation, a radical change of man's nature. Your paradigm should change. It is no longer that you stubbornly, you stick to your original paradigm. Okay, Gandhi had an idea that this is how one can be physically strong, or this is how one can improve. Now that paradigm is shaken. Now he has belief in his own little fragile facet of his own existence on earth, no matter how he is, what he is. But the moral strength in our, the strength to see another person face to face with honesty and with dignity, that is more strength, that empowers. So with this radical changing of knowing and being, we have this story in the Upanishad. There are many stories, but this Atharva-Vedic story of act of Satta, because ultimately slowly we will enter into Gandhi's Satta, which will be, Gandhi is not only interpreter of tradition, he is a reinterpreter of tradition. Whatever he touches, from charkha, spinning wheel, to Satta and Ahimsa, these will no longer be same old stereotype, same, because it gets his magnetic touch, and therefore it has to be reorganized, and it becomes renewed, relived. So Saving Grace of Satta, the story tells that one boy, Yagananda, he had been bitten by a poisonous snake. His parents carried him to the feet of an ascetic, a holy man, and laid the dead son, saying, Reverend sir, monks know cures and charms. Heal our son. The monk replied, I know no charms. I am not a physician. It reminds us also of Buddha, where many people came and asked him, if you are a sadhu, if you are a holy man, you have to give life to the dead, etc. Because they will taste also. The ordinary commoners will taste. If he is a holy man, let us see what he can do. So here they brought. And he says, I am not a magician of that kind, and I am simply not a physician. But they said, no, but a monk, therefore I do charity and other things. But yes, I have one power, and that is the power of performing an act of truth. And this is a very old tradition in the Vedic tradition of Satya. You see, the Brahmins usually are supposed to be possessing the 9 virtues. That is why the sacred thread used to symbolically Satya, Daya, all these Brahmacharya. But then now almost all other parts of this Navaguna is gone. But even then, in the Indian tradition, one point remains, that is the Satya, the power of telling truth. We have Satyakam Jabala story when Satyakam said, I don't know who is my father, because my mother says she was a prostitute, and therefore who can be my father, I don't know. And the teacher says, your father must be, you are a Brahmin, whoever is your father, because your mother has taught you to tell the truth. So truth used to identify, and also the truth had its power of actually negating the assault that was there. So here Jagavalka, when this boy Jagananda, when the snake bite part, and the monk said, I can perform an act of satya. And he performed his own act of satya. Then half of Jagananda's poison came out. He became little, his limbs could be moved. And he says, every one of you have to perform an act of satya. His father said something, and his now the mother's turn, that everyone has to confess actually your asatya, and then your, because of the satya, because of the power of satya, Jagananda will, your son will be again cured. So the mother says, I have a satya, but I cannot reveal it before my his father. And then the father says, anyway, let our son live, so you continue your truth. Even if it is unkind truth for me, I will bear it. Let our son live. And the mother said, truth, just I cannot recite it in no more, my son, do I know. Here the snake malignant that out of his service came and beat you. Then I do your father. By this truth held, poison is struck down, let Jagananda live. Immediately the rest of the poison came out and their son became alive. So Henry Zimmer, his comment on this parable, he says this is a tale that could be taken as a text of psychoanalysis, the opening up the repressed truths deeply hidden beneath years of pretension. Then it kills the next generation because of too much of hypocrisy and assault. If the relations between the even husband and wife, even among mother and son and others in the family, which is supposed to be very natural and spontaneous, there should not be any artificial, any wall here. Even if unfortunately, even these are also a veil of lie intervenes, then it kills the spirit. That was how Jimar interpreted this story. But it also shows how the power of Satya can relieve that dead one. So Mahatma Gandhi, in his Satyagraha, he applied this power against assault. And he also said, let noble ideas come from every corner. And we all know Bhagavad Gita was his mother. Equally was the Kingdom of God is within you from Tolstoy, and Henry David Thoreau, and Emerson, and Ruskin. all contributed together from Jainism, because his mother, he saw, and in his home, actually, it was a joint family. Like, it was not only Gandhi and his parents, like all Indian, traditional Indian families are. It was open for community. It was open for underprivileged one who can come, who can be given charity, there will be common celebrations of festivals where others come. There will be Jain monks coming, fakirs coming, Muslim peers coming, and all were equally reverentially offered hospitality by Gandhi's household. And therefore, Gandhi used to grow with all this, let the windows be open. But I, again, don't want to be blown out of my ground. And so he was a modernist. We can say Gandhi was an odd combination of pre-modernist, modernist, all. Modernist in a sense, he wanted to rationally justify. Although his vegetarianism was given to him, a part of his heredity, but even in his school, he once wanted to break this, whether he wanted to test, is it a taboo, just like that? Or when he got a book, because while going to London for this barrister study, his mother, Putlibai, made him promise that he will not touch alcohol, he will not marry foreigner, he will not break any vow of dharma. And because foreign going itself was not easily allowed, those pure impure norms are there. But Gandhi, so he searched frantically for, although he was parallelly trying to match him with that time British society. He learned dance steps, he ordered new suits, but also the plea for vegetarianism, a book he got, and then he got a rational justification for remaining vegetarian. So vegetarianism is not just a taboo, not just something handed over, but also it has rational justification. Similarly, he liked Sermon on the Mounts, like you love your neighbor, but also you love your enemy. That is very difficult, because to love your enemy, and that part he says here, you see. So all these together are adding to Gandhi's collection, from Tolstoy to Thoreau, and Henry David Thoreau's like American Pragmatism, do it yourself. So Gandhi himself is a tailor, Gandhi himself is a teacher, Gandhi himself is a doctor, he himself is an agriculturist, all in one. And so the spinning wheel now comes as the hope of the masses. The masses lost their freedom, such as it was, with the loss of the charkha. The charkha supplemented the agriculture of the villagers and gave it dignity. Now, you see, Gandhi coming to the homespun shawl, which will be, of course, with his charkha, the spinning, and also agriculture. So he says, if we have the khadi spirit in us, we would surround ourselves with simplicity in every walk of life. The khadi spirit means patience. You see, from the spinning wheel, from weaving till the cloth is ready, it needs tremendous patience. And usually at that time, before Gandhi took it, it was the women in every most of the households, the women, and there they had their day's work, and in the end of the work, they had some extra time, either for spinning wheel or for the weaving handloom. They will sit, it has two things. One is also extra practical benefit, some clothes, some clothes even to be given to gods and to men. And a religious time in Assam, you know, during Bihu we give gamusa and all hand woven. So it has, one thing is care in your cloth that you bring, and also practical necessity. And sometimes one can also sell and get some money, extra little money. But then it should not be. Gandhi identified this with a spirit of simplicity, and also weavers the patience. We have to learn how ultimately the cloth comes, the thread is ready. So therefore it will be Swaraj because you are the creator of your craft. You are the creator, and also you are the designer. Now suppose the women folk usually, or we have so many different tribes and beautiful ethnic designs and all these, like our dreams, our frustrations. You see, usually what happens, women and girls during that time, they were not going to school very regularly. They didn't have other options, other way out. And mostly, if your husband or other people are understanding, then it is a good situation. Otherwise, some are not at all understood, and they are, very routine, like doing the kitchen work, then other things, even sometimes thanklessly. And if you read Bengali beautiful book called She Shamay, when Ram Mohan Rai was giving his widow burning against that Sotida, that time Bengal households, they had some comfort zones. Some of the joint families and some of the mukhias, some of the elders, they had, like, suppose young widows and others who are relations, they are given shelter in the house. And because of that, because security and shelter of a house, and they are busy in cooking, large scale cooking is going on, because joint family, too many people. And then from morning till evening, it was like masala pisai, and all the time grinding the masala, cooking, rounds of meal going on. So they were having comfort zones. And then suddenly when Ram Mohan and all this widow burning ban reform continued, one of the widows in that book, Seshamai, one of the widows, she came to the elderly group who were having smoking pipes, and they were playing caroms or cards, because leisure time, and because women folk are busy cooking and making tea and other things, so they had leisurely gossip adda. And here this lady comes, fragile teen, and she gave her brother-in-law a tupla of ornaments, and he says, Bhaiya, keep it properly, because Ram Mohan Nai has now reformed, and widows like us, we can remarry, and so this ornament may be needed that time. And then when she left, and now this group, main group, they started talking, what this Ram Mohan Babu eta ki korche? What Ram Mohan is doing? Because when this new idea coming to these widows, they were happy here, now they are thinking of remarrying. You see, look at this. And so you can see all kinds of attempt not to allow them to dream. And so here in their weaving handlooms, if they dream, if they recreate the designs, the colors they choose, the dreams they weave, so it also gives them a freedom, a swaraj, a dignity which they create, the creative joy. So here in this, you see the Gandhi in his Sebagram. You see, out of need to make it the whatever minimum, out of the minimum, how to divert it, because no umbrella and nothing immediately. It was hot day, and Gandhi was covering his head with a pillow. You see, so as I said, out of old clothes, he will advise the villagers to make warm cloth or something, sewing it together, joining the clothes. If nothing is available for these people, nothing is available. So here, pillow as umbrella. And here, these two, earlier you said they are spinning charkha, it is okay. Now these two combination, Tagore and Gandhi, both Western educated and Eastern, and they have their added aesthetics and other dimensions to it. And Gandhi here is an odd combination. The most iconic image of Mohandas Gandhi shows him here, bare chest.
Ma'am, just, ma'am, I think participant has unmute. Ashik Iqbal, can I please? Yeah, he's mute now. Sorry, ma'am, to interrupt.
Do you hear? Is it okay? My talk?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
so
It's
in
clear
this
and audible.
photograph, I particularly want you to focus the middle one, Gandhi, with his charkha, but not only charkha. You see, the earlier ones may be charkha, maybe spinning, maybe just a little relaxation, nothing more, or practical, like pillow covering your head. But with Gandhi, with the charkha goes latest newspaper, of Mohandas with bare chest, clad in loincloth, and reading a newspaper while seated next to the spinning wheel or charkha. That picture, taken by American photographer Margaret Burke White, was shot for the new defunct Time Life magazine. It was taken in 1946 when White arrived in Pune, where Gandhi had been imprisoned by the British. Gandhi had taken up spinning to inspire fellow Indians to boycott British goods and buy local produce, including home-spun cotton. The photograph went on to become indelible image, the slain civil disobedience and crusader. So here you see with the newspaper, spinning wheel with the newspaper, and even everywhere, wherever Gandhi goes, from Namaklung, salt lawn breaking, all these movements, you will see already mass communication is on. The camera, the photograph, the newspapers already flashing the news. So that is what Gandhi wanted. Let British know, let the whole world know, even for a pinch of salt, how the satyagrahas had to undergo suffering. So this was Gandhi's intention also. So with newspaper and charkha and with Tagore and Gandhi, they did not just village for the sake of village, because villages also have their limitations. Villagers should come out of their idyllic gossip kind of laziness, kind of lethargic. It should also have not grammota, not gram, but not that village simplicity. So Tagore also had love for Polli, and in his Santiniketan and Sriniketan. Now both, they wanted to combine these two in a very unique, creative way. Again, the main mantra is creativity. So when Churchill called him half-naked fakir, and he remarked, it is alarming also to see Mr. Gandhi, a Middle Temple lawyer, now posing as a fakir. And when he was invited by that, it's a very strange sight, he says. And Gandhi, even the loincloth to attend the Buckingham Palace during a visit to London, dressed in his customary dhoti, a loincloth, and wearing a homemade sandal, he must have been the oddest looking visitor to Buckingham Palace. When the meeting was over, he was walking out of the palace gate when a journalist asked if he thought he was wearing enough. Gandhi's reply, but the king was wearing enough for both of us. It was classic Gandhi, the master tactician, and his use of the weapon of non-violence. For him, both the means and the end must be equally unharmful, ahimsa. He targeted the British, where it would hurt the most of their sources of income from India. He had been opposed to the import of textile and clothing that enriched the mill owners of Manchester and the British government. To counter that, he introduced and advocated khadi, the homespun fabric he promoted vigorously. He would sit and start spinning khadi with charkha and others hated. So choosing a wedding gift is difficult. But in 2017, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip celebrated 70 years, and the gifts were shown. With that, one was by Mahatma Gandhi and a hand-spun shawl. And here Gandhi wrote Jai Hind, and they interpreted it as Victory of India, which the royal interpreted as Jai Hind, as long live India. Anyway, that was his message. And later when we see with Binu Bhave's Bhudan also, there was a dialogue he always looked for. It was not a classless war like bureaucrats and others, but it was even for a creative dialogue, change of heart, even from those who have and have not. Even they can go for a human dimension of dialogue instead of killing, bloodshed, and completely one class taking the other class out of existence. This kind of opening option platform was not for Gandhi, although he was socialist and communist, but his idea of it was not for Sarvodaya. Sarvodaya means each and everyone's justice to each and everyone. No one should be deprived. And so Gandhi homespun shawl has religiosity now. What is this religiosity? Of love of Vaishnava Jana, who is empathetic and sympathetic for others. Vasudha, for the whole universe, even for living creatures and others, anyone suffering. For them, his message of Vaishnava Janaku. So this Vaishnava can be anyone who has empathy. And so Gandhi, otherwise, if we do not keep open this interpersonal dialogue, then Gandhi will soon be forgotten as a man of flesh and blood, but as a cult to be ritually remembered, which we usually do with our many gods who became dead and creator gods. But with this hand-woven shawl, who wanted to protect the severe cold-affected villagers in some manner, remains his religion. So in all religions, one dimension is the healing touch, the sacred dimension of life that even the Buddha, without bringing the names of gods, although later Buddhism, Tantric Buddhism, they just became like other Brahminical religions which Buddha opposed. But here, earlier, Buddha did not mention any god, but it was the sense of the sacred of life, and that was the healing touch, the religiosity. So Gandhi's homespun shawl was like when a mother who is helpless, she has nothing to give to the hungry child, and she sings a lullaby to consolation, or just the boy forgets and he smiles with the mother. Is Gandhi doing that? Improving or disproving his position? Otherwise, he says, my religion, my dharma is not for those who have the irresistible impulse to go on asking questions, means the intellectuals. Intellectuals, he can never justify. You can never satisfy their questions. They will have a number of questions, asking for the sake of asking, unending. Or even you can go for a storm over a cup of tea. But have you seen those faces which are sorrowful? Have you seen the suffering of one another? In even Habermas's communicative rationality, we have arguments, counter arguments. So he was looking for a impartial, a third part agreement, which will be something like rational consensus. But two persons coming one another, there was no occasion to see the suffering of the other face facing you. And when Gandhi saw it and his religion told it, I don't have to talk about which god or what for religion, which dharma. I have to, my dharma is, I saw Vasudhaiva Kutumbaka, everyone is a god, every Vishnu, Vaishnava, every Jiva is Shiva. So everyone's suffering. And my task is to comfort. That comfort was the spinning his hand-woven shawl. And therefore, without any justification. So even if when we say Gandhi's philosophy, we try to understand his philosophy of religion, his philosophy of ahimsa, and definitely full of contradictions, and we fail to reach what Gandhi wanted to say. And we say Gandhi is maybe, Gandhi's time is okay, but then now we need new ideas, and Gandhi will not help here. Gandhi is the most pragmatic, most ever living philosophy that Gandhi had. He was not a cult like that, but problem is with us, because any linguistic communication that is propositional, that the language we talk about Gandhi's philosophy is propositional. Here I cannot, beyond Habermas, I cannot go and see the face of Gandhi saw with the villagers, with the afflicted ones, Buddha saw, other religious saw, people, personalities saw. We do not see that. We have lost that eye. And therefore, we want to talk about communication. And in the propositional, because proposition is always impersonal, and they objectifying the face, and it disrobes that personal Gandhi. Hagi Kanan, he argues that the propositional perspective, whatever can be said about the individual, must take the form of an utterance, deriving its meaning from the conciliation of facts. I miss you is a certain person happens to be thinking about another person, and this certain person happens to be you or anyone else, but this singularity of the individual person remains external to the meaning of your words. Wittgenstein criticizes the manner in which we, in the general propositional form, there is no scope for conveying the meaning at the personal level. And to understand Gandhi's religion, we have to capture that. We have to be connected at that level, maybe pre-linguistic, beyond that which gesture and body language can contact, can connect, can reveal truth, as Hiranmayana Patreno Achaditang, unveil, half veil, or as Heidegger says, aletheia. Maybe you have to dig beyond, and then you unveil the veil mystery, and that is you have seen, some seen. So that way the truth. And Wittgenstein says in the general propositional form, this is how things are, and permit us to look at it through language's sealed windows. The actual character of the human possibility of allowing the textuality of language to contain, as Plato has it, the texture of things in Plato's Sophist, for instance. One of the important lessons Theaetetus learns from the Eleatic stranger is that language can only convey logos through a particular intervening of its elements. It conceals a difference, an invisible difference whose presence explains why, when we say such daily things as it is raining again, I miss you, dinner is ready, you are beautiful, we are usually not at all saying that this is how things are. Now, where is that? How to translate that? If this is to be translated in only simply one pattern, how things are. So Hagikanan says it locks us that shifting domain of virtual possibilities. And with our text, more virtuality with Twitter and Facebook, that we are becoming more text, our communication becoming more text-like. And so all these philosophers, Wittgenstein to Kierkegaard to Heidegger, in Fear and Trembling, Kierkegaard talks about Abraham as a person who understands and acts meaningfully in a manner that transcends language. Otherwise, he says, when I look at Denmark, my birthplace, on the map, you see, I will point it out as a point, a very small dot. That is Denmark. That is my birthplace. But do we visit our birthplaces as a visitor, as a tourist? That is how my birthplace is. It is for me a different experience, that personal connectedness with the place I am born, with the people I am very close. That is a different kind of connectivity. And here, Middle Kunderas, the unbearable lightness of being, again conveys the similar difficulty of two people living together, but then failing to understand the oddness of that hat. And this is what a pair of shoes or in a hat. We need to listen to the poetic voice of the ordinary to see how the ordinary in poetic Kundera comments. Now perhaps we are in a better position to understand the abyss separating Sabina and France. He listened eagerly to the story of her life, and she was equally eager to hear the story of his. But although they had a clear understanding of the logical meaning of the words they exchanged, they failed to hear the semantic surfaces of the river flowing through that. This cap, odd-looking cap, may reconnect Sabina to her grandmother, to that generation, to that love, caring touch that she continues, that becomes that grandmother's caring touch, may be a part of her. And he, with his logical propositional, her life partner, otherwise understands her thoroughly, but fails to see what is so distinctiveness in this, that it always matters, this uniqueness of this cat hat. He doesn't see. So you need empathy of Vaishnava Jana, of entering into the beyond, touching upon, and that without that we cannot understand Gandhi. So Gandhi proclaims, our knowledge of letters will not help a child. In our education curriculum, more than that, we have hundreds of Rabindranath echoes. I have seen so many new English medium schools growing. But where is that education? Why some wisdom is lacking, some sensitivity is lacking? Why in urban the crime is rising, and then more of dowry debt, more of insensitivity to women, more of a rapist look when you find a little fragile girl in a crowded metro, in a abandoned, deserted metro alone. Why the beast in us is there? Why, what kind of education is it? But in a village, they do not have letters. They are not statistically literate, but they have that education which they address you as mother, ma, or they show you respect, or you feel secured with them. Then what for our education is? So Gandhi's charkha and village has another kind of it represented, nurtured that dharma which is of Kabira kind. Dhai akshar premaka. You learned everything. You have become master of all the degrees. You have not learned the simple two word of love, prem, and what for is your education. So Kabir and all, they remain rooted in their own locality, weaving and also very happily, again spinning wheel, which was a creative work, homemade shawl of Kabir and others, but they were creative workers. The agriculturist who goes to the field, again among these agriculturists, we get a small god of Krishna, of cowherd god, who is with the cow and with the Lakshmi as a paddy field. You feel an abundance of freedom, of nature, of nurturance. And here we find ahimsa paramodharma from Yudhishthira, who is supposed to be the dharma incarnate. So we can say Gandhi follows Yudhishthira in the Indian tradition. And Yudhishthira dharma incarnate was not sure what is dharma. There was Varna dharma, of a Kshatriya dharma, and other is of Vasudhaiva Kutumbaka. And so even he was the truth, similar to Gandhi, he was against Satya dharma. Save once the asasthama hata kintu ite gaza. And this was also half-veiled truth, and that was also the intention was maybe to not to harm directly, but even at times. And it also shows that we cannot be having, in Gandhi also we had that we cannot have absolute truth. In the human dimension of truth, someone you cannot directly tell you are suffering from cancer and you have only 2 days to live. Now the person will already die. So here sometimes you have to tell the truth in a covered way, or it is relative truth and absolute truth. But then with love for Vaishnavajana, that is what he said of paradukkeno. So you have to have empathy, you have to see the suffering of the other in your language communication. And the question remains how to connect and reconnect the two at a time. There is loss of all values and trust in humanity all around us. Also at a time when technology, globalization have changed the very face of humanity on earth, how far a Gandhian perspective on ethics and religion and non-violence is relevant for us today. We may explore this in some manner philosophically. Gandhian emphasis on non-violence and tolerance of the heart is the essence of religions, of all religions. And he also says, by birth, I am Hindu, but I am a Sanatani Hindu. That Sanatani Hindu, that softer in vein, which is Vasudhaiva Kutumbaka, which I said of Yudhishthira's dharma, and which was of universal love and trust than any of narrow fragmentations that divide, which Tagore says, when the world is without any fragmentation of narrow domestic walls. And this, so here you see, despite differences, one is more on aesthetics, the other is on pragmatic, but it was Tagore who first discovered Mahatma in Gandhi. They shared some very important common dimension for the good safety of Indian tradition. And we are privileged to have these combinations together. And therefore, the nonviolence, there was also occasions for Gandhi to be facing confrontation many a times, but he remained immune because with his firm faith in non-violence of dharma yuddha, in the sense, you say, with his own paradigm, with his first paradigm, final paradigm of non-violence and satya. That is how any dharma should be under that jurisdiction. If any dharma interpreted by custodians of dharma, boldly, fearlessly, it is Gandhi alone who says, let all the Shankaracharyas come, let all the mullahs come, let all the exponents of all the traditional scriptures come. And if they say, this is ahimsa is in a dharma book, I will not accept that interpretation, because that interpretation is wrong interpretation, and it cannot be. So even the Mahabharata, which usually people take it as a yuddha, and here also Gandhi sees only ahimsa and the loving message, and therefore he says the religious text cannot indicate violence. That is the final submission. Even if here and there people refer to, because you know the Bhagavad Gita, how Gandhi read it, how Tilak read it, how others read it, there will be different layers of meaning. And what you want to say, and Krishna already says, I am the same God, but what they want to see in me, that is how I am to them. If someone worships spirit, bhuta, preta, dark, I appear to them that way, and they reach that. If you see me in my loving true face, then I am that. And when to Arjuna in the Vishwarupa, he wanted to show his that majestic aspect of many universes coming and going out of him. He is the creator. And Arjuna refused to part with his human God. He says, no matter how great a God you are, I don't want to see that. How many creations, how many universes. I know you as my friend Krishna. You show me that face of yours will remain eternally friend, philosopher, and guide. And then Gita's secret truth was to Arjuna, do you know, my most secret part of my devotion is even I as a God look forward to your love. So we two, man and God, together are co-partners or co-creators. And Gandhi tried to continue that. So he says, if you cannot be co-creator, and if you go for violence and other fragmentations, you go for disharmony, assault, disintegration of whole universe, which is God's creation. And with this pandemic and other things, these are again maybe with our too much of greed, we are going for too much of disintegration, and that is how Gandhi would have seen it also. So even in the Mahabharata, he says that is what. And therefore definitely many people will not understand. So when Gandhi will say in the Gita, in the Mahabharata, in the Bible, in the Quran, everywhere there is love and non-violence. And for Gandhi, again, he will even reinterpret all these texts from his own non-violence and love paradigm. According to Gandhi, in the Quran, non-violence is enjoined as duty, violence is permitted as a necessity. That is Gandhi's. And Gandhi carried these freewheeling interpretations to other religions also. Besides Hinduism, Hinduism says even if Shankaracharya and others come and say sati burning is permitted, I will definitely stop that, saying that cannot be dharma, that is adharma, what he was saying. So he had that boldness to stop saying no to all these things, even if religious interpreters say. As I said, religious interpreters will try to seek dharma as something which holds, which does not go for varna sankat, which does not go for disharmony, because dharma means order and it doesn't go for disorder. So even when Ram Mohan's these widows, inspired widows wanted to marry, and when they were determined they will go for remarrying, then on the Ekadashi Amavasya day, when departed husbands' spirits come, so they played a trick, the custodians actually, they played a trick. And on one such day, this girl, Eddie, who wanted to, thinking of even remarrying, so she saw suddenly by her window one dark ghost peeping. And that's supposed to be her husband's departed soul. And he says, I have heard you are planning of remarrying. Have you forgotten me? That in our marriage vows we have taken that for 7 times, many more times, life and death, we are husband and wife, and now it is your adharma. She fainted, and next day she told those people that I am not going to remarry. I saw my husband yesterday dream. It was all, of course, planned. But you know how dharma rakshak, whatever they say, other commoners will definitely be scared to go against it. All the traditional custodians. But Gandhi is fearless, and therefore he has part of his own suffering. He drank Socrates' poison for facing life religiously and honestly. And therefore he says, it is by my fetters that I can fly. It is by my sorrow that I can soar. It is by my reverses that I can run. It is by my tears that I can travel. It is by my cross that I can climb. Let me magnify my cross, my God. So it was a suffering, soulful journey. Suffering, because in suffering, I, in empathy, understand what it is for others to suffer, what it is for others to remain shivering in a very cold winter night when the villagers do not have anything to wrap them. And so here, with Gandhi himself suffering with them, what he can do, he cannot talk about which religion, what religion, how great God is. He will try to address their problem, healing their sorrow and suffering. So Gandhi's firm faith in the basic goodness of man. Even to Hitler, he thought of making an appeal to change his heart. He thought he has the power of love to change, to touch others. And like Buddha, Gandhi believed that ours is a state of becoming. But through ahimsa, we can rise to divinity. So his God was among the half-starved multitudes of India who live in village. And with the coming of half-naked Fakir Gandhi, the village identified themselves with the Congress party, the then Congress party. Otherwise, Congress was supposed to be meant to be allied party. The villagers, agriculturists, they were not a part. Gandhi represented them. Where drinking water is not there, where there is not a proper bathing place, where hospitals are there, medicine is not there. What these people will do? If we say wait for COVID-19, the medicine is to be ready, but how can they afford to buy it? Will it be available to their place? Will we allow them to die like that? So Gandhi even dared to, everything he will not take ritually sacred. The cow being such a sacred thing for Hindu, Gandhi being a Sanatani Hindu, even permitted the mercy killing of a calf. Can you imagine how serious it was a scene when all the custodians of Hindu custodians were provoked at cow killing by Gandhi? And this cow killing, he says, look at your cow. And you go for keeping in a most unhygienic way. You do not take care of your cow. Only you take utility of their service. Even you go for extracting the maximum milk from your cow without thinking about the that cow is also a mother. Its milk is for its own offsprings. We want the maximum to extract. Plowing time, we take the cow for its most possible service, and when it cannot continue our service, then we become a Hindu pious by giving all our beloved things as charity. So that is what Nasikata questioned his father when he gave the cow to a Brahmin as charity. And he says, why are you giving the cow who was a part of our family, who served us? And father says, you see, cow is my most dearest part of the family, and I have to part with something which is dear to me. Nasikata, young generation, challenged his father. You are a hypocrite, father. You are telling lie. Your male son, because male son matters, and I am your male son, and I am your most dearest part of you. So why don't you give me to Yama, then giving this cow? So you see, that is how in Gandhi, we see this new generation looking for a very simple, honest, genuine truth for the sake of truth, which is unadulterated in this sense from the heart. And here, the shawl as his religion, at first it looks very plain to the eye, but we can detect the beauty of its strong patterns and the contrasting shades of folk art. With its knots and unevenness, it feels at first rough to the touch, but soon we can experience how effective it is in warming cold and hungry lips. Gandhi combined in his frail body the ideals of total renunciation and of total dedication. The ideal of Shiva, lord of ascetics in harsh Himalayas, and the ideal of Bodhisattva, who postponed his own liberation in order to devote himself to the removal of all suffering in the world. Though we feel at the end of this long quest that we understand Gandhi better, we must admit that the paradoxes remain. Gandhi, Hindu to the core, was rejected by the orthodoxy believer. Believer in tolerant relativism, he was stubbornly dogmatic at times in his personal view of religion. Fanatically non-violent, he accepted that sometimes violence may be permissible if non-violence remains a ritual of passivity, allowing assault to disintegrate. Sought, mercilessly ascetic, he was overflowing with tenderness. It was in his life and his action that these paradoxes resolved themselves, as on the loom of his life he doggedly crisscrossed the rampant of asceticism with the weft of love. It was by looking at his action that we discovered under the home-spun shawl a giant who in our age gave active witness to the reality of the divine. Thank you. With this, I conclude, and I'll be looking forward to interactions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, it was really consoling and so much healing to that how the topic has been today in regards to the situation now. Thank you so much for the declaration. It was really enlightening, and it was really beautiful.
Thank you. Thank
Well,
you so
ma'am,
much.
with this we head towards question and
Yes.
answer session. But it is like you were so the flow was so beautiful that, and it was so much gripping that I don't really think that there is any doubt in whatever you explained it to us today. However, there are one two questions which I would like to state. Um, this question from
Yeah.
chat box. Uh, how to deal with the society's people when they are against your decision and do not support you for according to Gandhiji's concept?
Yeah. Any other question I can take? Yeah. Okay then. So if this
Yes, an action is please call a meeting.
yes.
Yes, I'm triple.
Christy, Christy's voice
Yeah.
is not clear actually. Your voice is not clear, Christy.
Now do you hear?
Yes, ma'am,
Ma'am,
I'm hearing
your
you.
voice is clear.
No. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah. Should I
Yes, ma'am.
continue? Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah. So that first question, which was like when others oppose. You see, we have our different ways of. Actually, Gandhi was more with his patience and with his endurance, with his satyagraha and all. Will be first thing is what that you want to do. What that you want to do, if it is because it should be for non-violence or for satya, that the paradigm first is goal, objective. And if it is good for you in whatever way, you think that this is where you again find yourself. You see, freedom is also for him, freedom and dignity, that you want to do it your way, this way, that you find will lead to more empowering or betterment. Then even if others do not understand, because truth has limitations, so others' perspectives will vary, and therefore one has to here be strongly, first you have to be sure about whether this is your goal or this is your objective, and then if you are sure that yes, this is the right thing for you, some despite oppositions, Gandhi will advise to go on to carry it, and one day they will also see and understand, because there will be levels of receptivity and maturity. Now, what is odd and disturbing for them, maybe after some time, perspectives may change. If you can really convince them that this is what actually you wanted to do. I don't know if anything else you wanted to know. Yes? Any other?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Welcome.
Yeah, that was a beautiful talk, Archana.
Thank you.
You made it so, the philosophical, high philosophy,
Yeah.
and the way that it can be functional in everyday life.
Mm.
But I have a question to ask you, especially about the topic itself, which you have said about a homespun shawl.
Mm.
That I was thinking that any form of dogmatism, any form of rigidity, he was against.
Mm.
Even thought was a rigidity, he had said to Tagore and Einstein, right? And then, therefore, you have to understand the religion as as a rigidity or as a discipline, all right? He was against that. For him, it was more practical religion, like in Vivekananda,
Mm.
right? And in that way, don't you think that he has something very close to Buddhism, where it is a way of life? You practice what you preach. And maybe this is what he meant in his idea of, of faith. Faith can be variable, you know.
Yeah.
It is something which is variable. It has
Mm.
variations according
Mm.
to the circumstances in
Mm.
which
Mm.
it is given. So
Mm.
your answer, you know.
Yeah, because many have compared, many have found even Buddhist Mahayani form of a bodhisattva, no, who is selflessly, because they have attained their nirvana. And Gandhi is the sannyasi with a difference, who is with not orange robed, no, sannyas of the Indian sannyasi asceticism tradition. So it was a householder as a sannyasi. And here with asceticism, with dharma, it was also the practice part which is more important. And therefore, in a shawl here, as you see, Buddhist pragmatism is also in Gandhi. But finally, you see, he is also closer to the Hindu folk, like village kind of the Kabir Doha and all this Ramayana narration, among those crowds who are also, they have something definite of a kind God picture. Although Buddha says the sacredness, but God definitely, or the Atma, which was, so the metaphysical paradigm, which was of course nothing for Gandhi to make any change, but that way, through Buddhism, you can also go to finally godless position also. But Gandhi will never be godless position that way. Otherwise, mostly with Buddhist pragmatism. And here in the shawl of Vedanta, if you have the Vedanta's harmony of religion of Shankaracharya, here you will find a great design and motifs and harmony and order, every proportion as it should be. So in Gandhi's homemade shawl, there may be roughness, thickness, it may not be that smooth, but it is thick so that it covers the cold, and that is more important than Shankaracharya kind of fine order of like mandalas, you very perfect orderly. So that orderly definitely is not in Gandhi. Therefore, he will go for, as you said, contextualized religion as now will be faith. But what motivates you is a religious urge, doing something religiously. And to be religious here, I can also see philosophically, like when at one point, Gandhi remains fundamental. Like unlike in Habermas and all communicative rationality, you may go on changing your paradigms out of your reasoned evidences. But Gandhi will here remain calm with his satyagraha, with his fasting. Even he insisted Putlibai many. He insisted Kastuba Gandhi many times. Like even wearing khadi became obsession and religion. And so, while serving food to Gandhi, he says you have to wear khadi, handloom, hand woven sari. And Kastuba sometimes found it difficult. Practically, it was thick and heavy, and also not comfortable for doing homely cooking and other activities. And so, no, because Gandhi wanted to have that freshness of religiously wearing something which you are making it your own, creator of that. It is not exploiting other people from whom you are taking, but you are wearing that, and out of that joy you are serving and you are giving. But here again, when he understands that he went extreme, he says sorry to her, even cleaning, say, your own latrine and all. So there at times when he ordered, he said, I acted as a boss to Kastuba. He was very apologetic later. He said, I am so ashamed of myself. So Gandhi has this beauty of changing his position when he sees that it went to extreme. But in certain cases, he will not change, like ahimsa. During even Gandhi Subhas, and during that time also, otherwise many points they agreed. But whether means can be violent, means will also be ahimsa, there Gandhi stubbornly refused to part with his ahimsa. Ahimsa remained his religion. So here no further evidences, no reasons will convince him. And here he will want others to change their paradigm and to come and see that ahimsa is that you have to see. And he will wait patiently, but he will not quickly change his ahimsa to himsa, because reasons, arguments in favor. So in some points, that we can say that is his religion. Religion, when I say God is kind, a bhakta will say God is kind, and others will say, where is God? God is dead, because evidences do not show us God. Even the bhakt suffering all his life, he is so sticking to, like Gandhi, to God kind paradigm, that he will say, there will be karma phal. What I am suffering because of my past karma, God cannot do anything there. But because of my faith, I will be undoing my wrong karma, and I will be. So that means they justify God is kind. They are not going to. So here Gandhi, when he says ahimsa is the paradigm, here he is religiously taking to ahimsa without fail, and he identifies satya and ahimsa. Of course, ahimsa again at times not passively as a ritual, a mercy killing of a calf, or even he says, if my son goes mad and a rapist, and he is a gundagiri, and then I myself will be the first one to take note of it, not because my son, because he has become no longer human, he has become a nuisance, a satan in him. So there are positions in him, but mostly the practical helping side, as Krishna has said, the non-violent Buddhist way, we see that glimpse in Gandhi.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Krishna, ma'am, thank you so much for your question. And also, I'm really sorry as a moderator, my connection shouldn't have been this week, but today, due to some unavoidable circumstances, maybe my connection is fluctuating. So sorry for
Yeah,
that.
Another
Sorry.
question I want
yeah,
to ask you. It is about because most of our audience are students. So
yeah,
how would you ask them to understand what books to read, of Gandhi? I think they should read Hind Swaraj, which is a
yeah,
must
yeah,
for self identity and self reliance. Then they know about self governance too. And as I said yesterday, that they should have a very clear idea of what my experiments with truth is, which will be almost illustrations of their own life.
Yes.
if they read it very beautifully. So, what would you suggest? What will be your message to our students? How to study Gandhi and how to apply it to their own life.
Definitely, because most of our IIT students first, when they come and they are already too busy with ma'am placement and how much grade I will get, with that mindset when they come to have some little of Gandhi also in their curriculum. I say, you see, one day we'll remember if you begin reading Gandhi and understanding Gandhi as a part of you, then wherever you will be, whatever frustrations you will have that inner moral strength to go ahead and to create your own elbow space out of all difficult situations, because the joy that we'll get out of it, that will nurture you more than any other external gifts and texts that may come, that may go. Even our health also is at pandemic, uncertain, so much of insecurity everyday life. But to be crucified for the sake of some cause that I say, I believe in it, I am committed to it. Take a stand, take a position, and don't be, because everyone is doing, I am a part of everyone. And being a part of everyone, finally you will find that you have no voice, you have no position as such, because you already lost. And so when Gandhi went to South Africa and all, even to our own women folk who came for the first time to join the Satyagraha, before that it was like, as say someone that Bengali household we find atur ghar bari to ranna bari. Their women's allotted duty was not functional, remaining functional, cooking, recipes, masla bata, and so talking about pickles and ornaments. So Gandhi wanted them to talk something beyond, something different, and joining the national, they became interested to know what happened. Our next independence part, the women took active interest. So one aim of Gandhi was to bring them out of that, what men want them to use, that as if voiceless, as if it's a part of the system. They said, no, let women come and realize, rediscover some part of their own, and that some part will be the Gandhi.
Yeah,
If you
that's
regain
good.
your voice, that will be your Gandhi.
I think this is very essential, what I had said yesterday, that our students have to know their own identity. And
Yes.
their identity is in their past, knowledge of the past, their own. And what Gandhi had said, you know yourself as well as your tradition. And if they know about it, then I think they can carve out a very beautiful niche for themselves. And this is where they should study Gandhi, for how they can carve out a unique form of identity, which is their own. Yeah, homespun, as you have said, the homespun shawl.
Well, thank you, Krishna ma'am. Thank you, Archana ma'am, for
Thank
very beautifully in the ambience today for the discussion, and
Thank
it's
you
such
so
a
much.
helping us build a very interesting perspective to understand Gandhi's philosophy in this time of COVID-19, and along with COVID, we have so many other issues time is throwing at us. So thank you so much for building the perspective and to face it. I'm sure all our participants are enlightened and they're grateful and they're honored to hear you out today.
Yeah.
With this, I take the privilege to extend my gratitude to you, of course, for making time from your busy schedule